All right, how's everyone doing? This is Mr. Nolan, and this is your 11A and 11B notes. We're actually filming in front of a live studio audience here in my second period class. All right, so we got three civilizations we're going to talk about in medieval America: the Aztecs, the Incans, and the Mayans. We're going to start with the Mayans. Okay, Mayan civilization is located in the Mexican and Central American rainforest on what is known as the Yucatan Peninsula. Chichen Itza is the central city and the capital city of the Mayans, and the Mayans are organized into city-states, and each individual city-state is ruled by a king. Okay, this is a lot like other civilizations we have talked about, specifically a lot like Greece. If you remember, we had city-states with Greece. Each one was ruled individually. They're never really a united empire. Now, if you think about that, the Greeks and the Mayans are going to be a little bit similar. The Greeks were organized and developed that way because the Greek civilization, Greeks' geography was mountainous, so they developed in small pockets of land. Well, if you think about a rainforest, there's not a whole lot of places in a rainforest where you can grow crops. So the Mayan civilization is also going to develop in the same way, small pockets of area where they cleared enough land within which they were able to farm. So that is why the Mayans are going to develop in city-states. Okay, obviously, as you can see, Chichen Itza out there on the end of the Yucatan Peninsula, which is that. A lot of pictures on this because Ms. Kessler was kind enough to give us pictures a couple of years ago. So I'll skip through slides a little faster than usual, guys. These are some pyramids that you will see in the remains of Mayan civilization. All right, Mayan agriculture is going to be based on economy and trade, or pardon me, Mayan economy is going to be based on agriculture and trade. Okay, so we've got farming. Individual villages will grow certain crops and they'll trade with neighboring ones that might grow something different. So again, agriculture is the key, and then there is trade. Some of the crops that they will grow, stuff obviously you would know is native to Mexico. And then Mayan religion is polytheistic. They believe in many gods. The Mayans use their pyramids as places of worship, similar to what we see in ancient Egypt, and they believe in ritual human sacrifice, which may or may not be the greatest idea ever sometimes. Okay, for those of you lacrosse players out there, we get the sport of lacrosse from the Mayans, who would use it as part of their sacrifice. The losing team would be the team that was sacrificed, meaning to sudden death. All right, so that is the Mayans. Another shot of the pyramids. Now the Aztecs. The Aztecs are located in an arid valley of central Mexico. They're a little farther north of the Mayans. The word arid, for those of you looking for vocab words, means dry. Okay, very, very dry valley in central Mexico. Basically desert-like conditions. Very hot. Tenochtitlan is the central Aztec city. I've heard it pronounced other ways. Just know that I'm not always the best. It's the central Aztec city. And the Aztecs are not individual city-states like the Mayans. They're one giant empire ruled by an emperor. Okay? So if we remember, an empire is when one civilization will conquer other ones and will rule them from above. So we've got the emperor. Again, Tenochtitlan a little farther up into Mexico. Now, Tenochtitlan is a special city in that you can see here, kind of, in these pictures, in that it's built in the middle of a lake. Okay? It's built in the middle of Lake Texcoco. This is a better picture of it here. As you can see, we've got the lake. This is the city right out in the middle of it. Okay, they basically, the Aztecs with their engineering abilities were essentially able to build an island in the middle of the lake within which to put their capital city on. Okay, they would do that because it makes for better protection. The only way to get to and from the city is the 2 or 3 causeways that go out to the city. On the downside, when the Spanish will show up later on, that also means there's only 2 or 3 ways out of the city. Aztec economy is again based on agriculture, and specifically a special type of corn known as maize. You absolutely have to know what that is. It's a type of corn that's native to Mexico. that the Aztecs were able to grow. It is special in that it grows in arid climates, so in an almost desert-like climate, okay, where there's not a lot of water, where it's very, very hot. Okay, and that is Aztec economy. And they figure out some forms of irrigation to help themselves out. And again, with religion, again, polytheistic, like the Mayans, they use pyramids, okay, and their human sacrifice is a little different. Instead of being seen almost as a privilege to be sacrificed to the gods, when it was time for them to perform ritual human sacrifice, the Aztecs would pick a neighboring civilization, go capture a town, and bring the people that survived that attack back and sacrifice them. So they would co-capture people to sacrifice. All right, and the last one's the Incans. Okay, the Incans are located in the Andes Mountains of South America. So we're talking the western side, the Pacific Ocean side of South America. Machu Picchu is the central Incan city. Okay. Incan government, not the best slide here. Incan government was ruled by an emperor with the aid of governors, okay? So instead of like the Aztecs where we just have the emperor who's in charge of the whole empire, okay, you have a big government, and the emperor is going to have regional governors. This is a lot like when we've talked about some of our empires in Asia, like the Persians, where they had those satraps who were in charge of a town. Part of the reason that we saw that in Persia is it was such a massive empire. What you have to remember about the Incans is that that empire spans all of South America, which is almost 4,500 miles long. So the Incan Empire, from one end to the other, is longer than the United States is across. For those of you who don't know, the United States is 3,000 miles across. So from one end of the Incan Empire to the other would be flying from DC to San Diego and then back past Denver, almost all the way out to Hawaii. So the Incans have a massive empire. So it's not possible for the emperor sitting right here in the middle of the empire to get news from up here in Colombia and then send it back. So he has regional governors in each of these areas that he has to trust. And that is how the Incan Empire is able to work. They have a large bureaucracy. Incan economy is also based on agriculture. Now, if you just saw that picture where we were talking about it up in the mountains, you would immediately think, well, how did we farm, Mr. Nolan? We're up in the mountains. And we've talked about a couple of civilizations where mountain situations made farming hard. The Japanese, mountainous islands, ended up having to fish for the primary food. The Greeks, mountainous territory, developed in small pockets, and when they didn't have enough food to feed people, they sent them out to colonize the rest of the Mediterranean. The Incans go to a different approach, and they make what we call terraces, where they are literally going to cut into the side of the mountain to create flat farmable land. Okay, as you can see here, we'll look at Machu Picchu. Similar crops. Okay, I'm going to get back to another picture of the terraces here in a second, guys. All right, the Incans are also polytheistic. The gods of the Incans are based on the powers of nature, especially the sun and the moon. So the sun god is going to be supreme for them. More pictures. Llama. All right, again, Machu Picchu. And then here's a better look at those terraces. As you can see, if that were just the side of a mountain, you couldn't grow crops. So what the Incans are going to do is they literally will cut about 10-foot long flat pieces into the mountain so that they have room to lay a couple of rows of crops, and then up the next step and up the next step. And that is how they're able to farm, okay? An adjustment that you could have done in Greece, but it worked for them. Another shot of it. I know I probably don't ever want to go walk around there because I'm not the most coordinated of person, and falling off the side of that mountain would be painful on the way down, hitting every single step. Okay, they did manage forms of irrigation. And then the big technological development that the Incans have is, as you can imagine, through mountains like the Andes, there's not going to be a whole lot of ways to travel. Travel would be tough. So what the Incans actually do is they're going to create a road. Picture's out of order. They create a road through the mountains to allow transport and travel to be quicker and a little bit more efficient. Is this the greatest road? No, it's better than I-66, but then again, everything is. All right. It's a road, though, that will allow transport to move faster. Again, themes that we've seen with our empires that we've talked about throughout the year that are successful. They have large bureaucracies, they have road systems to improve travel. Again, like I said, not the greatest of roads, like that would be a path right there, but it's something. It's better than having to navigate your way through the mountains on your own. Okay, and then achievements for all three civilizations is that they all came up with some form of calendar, they all came up with a form of mathematics, and they all came up with a written language. And the biggest thing to remember about that is that they're all independent of each other. They're all independent of each other, okay? There's not a whole ton of evidence of interaction between them. So they're all going to, on their own, develop calendars, math, a writing system. Okay, the Incans have the road system you need to have written down, but those big three there. And when we start talking about the characteristics of civilization as humans, these are the kinds of things that we're going to start looking for. Some form of government, the ability to develop advanced concepts like a writing system, mathematics, or a calendar. And that's all you guys need to know about the Aztecs, Incans, and Mayans. Not a whole heck of a lot. Make sure you guys know the map too. And that's all for this set of notes.